Hey everyone, so in case you didn't know, Novembuck happened, which was the next year's version of November, where I previously made since November. This time I made a game called 3 Days to Live, and I have been late to covering games from this jam on my channel, so I'm going to try to cover a few of them over the next couple of months or so. I don't know, I was just kind of like overwhelmed. And also, like, I tend to try to I kind of set the precedent of trying to beat the entire game in the video instead of doing a let's try style one. So I kind of built it up in my head that it's like a commitment, and I was like, I don't have time right now, and I kind of been doing like my let's tries for the last few months at like the last minute, so I keep procrastinating on this, but let's finally get back to it. And if I'm going to cover any of them first, I'm basically required by law to cover this one first, because I'm like, I've roomed with Sate before, I've roomed with Rio, mutuals with Jasper, I have lifted Jimmy off of the floor and he did the merch, my one merch. I mutuals with Martini, Ka used Watson's program scripts in our visual novel, I stream with Halix, I've talked with Red and Saber multiple times. I'm just like, oh my god, the list of people here. Obviously you gotta get to this one. So let's try out Nepenthes, if that's how you pronounce that. I think. Maybe. Oh, I forgot to turn my controller on. I'm allowed to use a controller. The last few visual novels I haven't worked with this. It was the 10th year since Darlington Botanical Gardens shut its doors. The disappearances started 3 days after. 13 had been tallied thus far, with 2 more currently under investigation. Shoe print trails, vehicles abandoned in the lot, and the presence of shed hair in the vicinity all veritably led our search to the abandoned facility. And without fail, the cases ran cold the moment one entered the decaying vestibule. The Bureau of Investigation wasted months inspecting every nook, niche, or recess they could find. The answer remained the same. No tracks, no fur, no bodies, only Darlington's vacant husk. It was as if they'd all been spirited off. The inconsistency in the missing demographics only served to aggravate the investigators' vexations, including those of yours truly. Elaine Salisbury, snow leopard of 83 years, widow, highly reclusive. It took days before her neighbors noticed she had vanished from her abode. John W. Westall, mountain goat of 35, made a fortune on hoof care products. He told his housekeeper that he would be taking a Sunday drive along the countryside. His empty car was found abandoned on the roadside, not 50 meters from the conservatory's parking lot. Fortunately, it had little effect on the lacquer stocks. Nothing quite compares to that signature satin finish. And, most recently, a 7-year-old beagle by the name of Charlotte, orphaned at a young age due to behavioral issues, which made finding a suitable foster home difficult. She absconded from the agency one evening, leaving but a loose thread of her nightwear on a nearby shrub. Amid all the possible relations between these impossibly disparate individuals, I could only deduce one commonality. Again I find myself lost in thought. My investigation was to be expeditious, a cursory glance at the hollowed galleries and chambers. More a formality to keep the public's discord at a manageable level. Still, I cannot help but ponder the possibilities. By all rights, I should not expect to find anything novel. And yet... I suppose even I am vulnerable to the occasional bout of irrationality. I quelled the gushing of questions and possibilities welling in my mind and made my approach towards Darlington. The girders moaned as I drew near. My gaze fell upon the framework of Darlington. The building should be naught but debris after the decades since its closure. And yet it insists on remaining as tall as the day it was built. The doors had been worn away, leaving only a black maw where its patrons once entered. What a bother. I sighed, produced the radio and held it close to my muzzle. Hmm? Yes, I'm just before the entranceway. Nothing thus far. Excuse me? Chief, he is not necessary for this operation, I assure you. Are you implying I am unable to handle this professionally? Besides, he should be at my place packing his belongings. Do what you must with him, it does not matter to me. Besides, I must be going. I do not think I will be able to get a signal once I am inside. Understood, sir. Always such a pain. I wished for the merciful burn of a potent spirit and forgot about this whole mess. I shoved the radio into my breast pocket and took a step towards the entrance. It was then I noticed the tightness in my throat, as though I had swallowed a coarse stone. My attention drifted to the raggedness of my breath, the audible thump, thump, thump of an uneasy heart. Let it pass, I repeated in my mind. This will pass. What on earth could have me so discomposed? Something in the deep recesses of my mind urged me to flee. A primitive instinct I quelled before ambling to the entranceway. It's funny, but one of my first thoughts was, I'm like, this guy's got neck problems. Like, having, like, I think 2 asymmetrical antlers, I think is what's going on. Like, one's almost reversed looking. It's like, that's gotta be a pain in the ass for sleeping, right? Like, I often think with people with antlers and horns and stuff, I'm always like, how do they lay down on a pillow? Like, what is their sleeping arrangement like? Do they have a special... Like, I sometimes think about, like, the sages in Dark Crystal and how that one is sleeping on, like, a weird thing where they can sleep in a forward position on a weird slab that just holds up their head, basically. And I'm like, what kind of arrangements do deer and whatnot have in some of these settings? But here in particular, I'm like, that's a crazy horn arrangement to have to live with. I peered through the vestibule's lonesome gloom. Spying a nearby shard of tile, I took it and skipped the fragment low to the ground. It hit the far end without any issue. The path was clear. I could continue with confidence. I had progressed roughly midway through the vestibule when my skin tingled and fur raised to pointed ends. My nostrils had caught wind of something, faintly warm, carrying with it a sweet, earthly note. Ambergris? No. There was a vegetal characteristic to it. As I closed in on the far door, the aroma grew in intensity until I could even detect its flavor. It brought to mind leaf litter and fresh blossoms, as though the spirit of Darlington persisted after all these decades. A heady fragrance that brought something to my attention. "Me hungry." Am I hungry? No, that cannot be. I had dinner not a few hours ago. That twink can't be gone already. Yet there is still a trace of craving. I fingered the stretch of my belly. Nothing. Huh, that's a wild sentence. Perhaps that kale was not agreeing with me. I cannot concern myself with this now. Pushing my attention elsewhere, I placed my hooves on the metal, and the door creaked. With whining metal and the grinding of rusted hinges, the door thrust open. Whoa! That background looks wild. Hey, you're in the way, go away. My god. Did I hit my head, or have I finally gone mad? Gusts of temperate country air came spilling from behind me, only to be subsumed by the rank tropical humidity. It's fun that the head slid in front of the moon or sun or whatever for like a silhouette too. A lowland rainforest, or at least a simulacrum of such. Sumatra? Or perhaps Borneo? It must be Borneo. Yes. Darlington's original rainforest gallery was designed to showcase its unparalleled biodiversity. So is this... Because the art style is very artificial looking in a fun, stylized way, but given the description, I'm like, am I supposed to interpret it as being like cardboard stand-ups, or just an indoor forest that represents what you'd find in the setting? One hoof still in the door, I peered back at the dark from whence I came, and I stepped forward. I produced the radio from my breast pocket, dialing the frequency, and waited. Just as expected, merely on the cusp of coherent connection. I turned my attention to the ceiling where a light filtered from the latticework glass, too bright to see anything other than its blinding glow. The trees which towered around me must have extended over 50 meters in height, and yet they came nowhere close to grazing the top. So I think they're trees, yeah. I scanned the boughs of the trees. Is it boughs or... It's boughs, isn't it? Damn it. All covered with the vein-like sprawl of... epiphytes, delicate orchids, and foliage even I had difficulty recognizing. Borneo always did captivate me, a paradise for flora and fauna of the most splendid quality. By some miracle, Father even allowed me to purchase a book on plants native to the region when I was but a callow fawn. Oh, I would spend hours beguiled by those photographs and illustrations during the long weeks while he was away. The tropical pitcher plants especially, beautiful in appearance yet a fatal trap to insects enticed by their lures. Halcyon days long gone, quixotic ideas I quickly grew out of. Yet, even in my adult age, the allure of Borneo still whispered in my ears on occasion. Perhaps I should have... No. Contain yourself. The nature of this anomaly should be the utmost concern. Doubtful any current specific method could begin to describe how this place came to be. A new realm had materialized in the carcass of Darlington. Its gardens flourished once more. Pushing onwards, my eyes traced the foliage and earth for any signs of disturbance. Perhaps a trail left behind by a previous visitor. To my distress, the more I wandered, the more it became apparent that there was no end wall, at least within a reasonable distance for a building of this scale. I turned to see the still open doorway, a minute square of black amidst the growth. Should I not keep that door within eyesight, I may very well find myself locked in the thicket. Another few paces forward, and something peculiar caught my eye. Hi? It's moving. That's unnerving in its own way because sprites like never move in these games. You have it's so rare to even get a game that has blinking or like a tail wag or something. It's like the complete lack of motion on the characters, and then this like pitcher plant on hinges with the motion tweening is surreal. It seems to have eyes at the base of the pitchers and fangs at the top. It's the Vore plant. Of all the plants in the world, it's the most. There, right in that clearing, not a few meters from me. Pitcher is characteristic of the Nepenthes genus, bearing those unmistakable thorns protruding from beneath the lid. I allow myself a spark of excitement for the occasion. Look at that. Look at his fucking smug expression now. Before me stood Nepenthes, bicalcarata. Nepenthes bicalcarata, a fanged pitcher plant, and a vigorous specimen at that. I approached one of its more robust traps and took a glance into its maw. Uh-huh. Word choice. Nothing I could discern from this angle. The depths were obscured by the shade of tree overhead. I took a whiff. Feed me, Seymour. A shock of agony pierced my brain as though my hippocampus had burst. I clenched my skull and screamed. I don't think you can clench your skull. I guess, is your jaw in your skull? Kind of. Something stirred within the depths of my cerebrum like a parasite. I wanted the plant. The picture beckoned it forward with its hypnotic fragrance. I was joking, but that's actually what we're doing right now. Feelings, sensations, even memories stirred at the fringes of my throbbing mind. They writhed their way into the surface, biting at the folds of my, meninges? I actually don't know. Oh, he's screaming. God, it's like someone drove an ice pick into my socket. A flash of memory mere moments ago when I first beheld the plant. Deeper still, the smell of my apartment when I returned home last night. No, none of this was satisfactory. The plant wanted more. Would it gorge itself on my mind till I was simple? Just then the plant found something, though I did not know what. It needed to coax it out. The pain and aroma grew stronger. I fell to my knees. I had only a moment to recognize it. It was so simple it barely registered as a memory. Just a single core feeling. One I had never, ever been without. I was hungry. Whoops, you're a plant zombie. My eyes pried open to the blinding white of the ceiling. God, my head hurts. Had I been attacked? I scanned my body for injuries and fortunately came up blank. What precisely can I recall? Right, the plant, and then the pain. It drew something out of me, lured it in and devoured it whole. I must leave. Now. In a frantic sprint, I traced my path back to the entranceway. But when it finally came into view... Oops. Maybe you can defeat them. Oh, he's not happy. I assailed the bramble in a flurry of strikes and blows, and only when the blood streamed from my knuckles did I desist. This specific scream expression is kind of interesting because it does kind of remind me of like Louis from Beastars and really oops. It reminds me of Louis from Beastars in really specific moments of the manga. The big, like, flat-toothed, super wide mouth yelling. I was trying to place why it seemed kind of familiar because I'm like, I don't think I've seen. I feel like I haven't quite seen a mouth from Jimmy. It looks quite like that. I'm like, what is it reminding me of? The trees depressed and the whole of the jungle drew to an eerie still, as though Darlington had exhaled. Granted, not a lot of commissioners are usually looking for this kind of expression to begin with. I was caught in the beast's mouth and could be but moments from being swallowed alive. A Vorny-ass narration. Damn it all. Damn it all. My rationale must not be blunted by such fanciful ideas. Whatever force was at play must want me alive, for now at least. Yes, my incarceration must have a deeper reasoning, though I could not begin to describe it. The plant. Yes. What was the plant trying to do? Wayfarer, dearest, oh wayfarer. Or like, wayfarer, dearest, oh wayfarer. It's probably closer to the cadence. A murmur, soft as the breeze and so faint one might have mistaken it for their own imagination. It repeated in soft chimes which grew only but a mite louder as it approached. There, descending from the treetops came a fluttering pair of wings. I welcome you, dear. It's eerie. Lowering in on a string. So more and more of the things in here have these yellow eyes. I wonder if they're all shared by one thing. Come from the barren and into Halidom. It muttered in a sing-song tone. What are you? A butterfly, dear, is that not obvious? The insect spoke as though it were half caught in a fanciful dream. I held my tongue and considered my next choice of words. Experience and education failed to prepare me for conversation with the butterfly, of all things. No body language from which to derive equivocation or discomfort. I was loath to engage in conversation with a denizen of this garden. However, if I was to ascertain an escape route, then I had to garner what I could from the insect. It appeared cordial enough to greet me. Playing along was perhaps my best option. How do I leave? Smooth, don't ever suspect you. I spoke flatly. Ah, so direct, so direct. Answer me. An escape exists, though you'll not find it here. Then where? Rush not, wayfarer, rush not. There's much I wish to ask you myself. I feel like you've been swept into Alice's Wonderland. This thing refuses to budge unless I played along. Very well. I nodded and allowed it to continue. Well, I believe introductions are in order, yes? Is it not custom, when one first meets another? Have you no respect? Westall, John Westall. I am merely a visitor, and I wish to return home. The butterfly's wings flickered, and it rang with a sharp off note. Don't get fresh with me now. You'll find I'm not so easily duped. Blast it, it saw right through. Had it been observing me all this time, or was there a tell in my inflection? Oh, I suppose your caution is warranted. But if I'm to help you, I'll need your cooperation. I hesitated. There must be an alternative. No, the insect is perceptive. I suppose I'll have to entertain this notion. I apologize. While I am not willing to reveal my name, I can reveal my reason for being here. There's been a string of disappearances traced to this very conservatory. Are you a detective, then? Thought it was defective for a second there. Whoops. There's a string of disappearances tied to this place, so I came here alone. Is not the best plan. In a manner of speaking. I now have reason to believe that the victims are trapped here in Darlington. Victim is not quite the word I'd use, dear. Then where are they, and why have they not returned? It was their choice to stay. They're tenants of Darlington. Their choice? But why? Its wings rang with a sound that brought to mind a chuckle. They were hungry, and no morsel or scrap from that waste could ever fill their empty bellies. Ah, struck a chord, have I? You're starving too, you must be. What do you want? Worry not, wayfarer. Should you decide the gardens aren't to your fancy, then you may go. But I guarantee you'll find a respite from your famine deep in the bogs of Darlington, a relief like no other. I wish to leave, I am not interested. And yet the bramble remains. Pardon? The butterfly's antenna twitched. Must I spell it out for you, Gumshoe? I thought that was your job. Think, when did the bramble first appear? When I awoke after my encounter with the Nepenthes. When I realized... Ah, and there you have it. And thus the bramble will stay and your path remains closed. The butterfly's chimes trilled. So the butterfly's full of shit. They're like, they're willing tenants here. I'm like, not... If you're imprisoned by your subconscious or something when you literally are trying to leave, then that's not really of your own will. Nepenthes, you called it. What a queer name. Most refer to them as simply pitcher plants. A simple interest of mine, nothing more. Is there something wrong with that? The butterfly wavered around. I cannot rightfully tell, but it seemed as if it were contemplating something. However, it quickly resumed its usual flight pattern. No, nothing. Then what did it do to me? You're the expert, Gumshoe. I don't know if that's true, because I don't think this is a thing it normally does. I shot the insect a dark glare. It lured something out of me, ate it, digested it. Something of me had been consumed and interred into the structure of the plant itself, or perhaps the conservatory in its entirety. I suppose we have business, yes? Right. So, this is how it'll work. I'll ask you one question. You must consider it. Look inwards and look deep. Once you've found something, the bramble will part ways, and the door will be free once again. That will not lead to a vestibule. No, you'll find another room lying in wait for you. From there you'll find the bogs at the very end of the room. And with it, answers. I clenched my hooves and regarded the insect with a venomous glare. Second time clenched was used on a thing that I'm like, isn't that kind of a rigid thing? Can you clench a hoof? Maybe in the hands, which were being called hooves. That's the struggle with furries, is they call things paws or hooves, and they might mean either feet or hands, which is a linguistic mix-up that doesn't exist until you apply the furry language to those parts of the body. I'm afforded no agency in this, am I? No choice but to abide by its ridiculous request, which is why it's ridiculous that it claims that they're willing tenants. The bramble, though, I know it will never part. There was no logic or reason behind this belief. Pure, primitive emotion. It only felt right. I drew a deep inhale, holding the breath for as long as my lungs would allow, then exhaled into the steamy air. Ask. The insect draw close to my gaze. Close enough to see the delicate scintilla of the wing's scales. And in a hushed tone it whispered, "What are you hungry for?" My mind ran blank. The butterfly was correct, I am starving. Even now I feel the bite of my stomach's hunger. I thought back to the agony of the Nepenthes and dug deep to recollect what I could. Images, sensations, sounds, smells. Laying in bed as the afternoon sun rolled across my face. The scent of coffee during a late shift in the office. And the view from my apartment's window on a crisp, starry night. They have coffee. That doesn't narrow things down that much time period wise, but I'm like, he has like sort of a vaguely Bloodborne getup, so I'm like, I don't know what era to place this necessarily. But coffee doesn't help much, does it? Coffee's all over the place. When I looked from afar at all the people below, in each, I am hungry. More than that, I was wasting away. But why? I do not know. The butterfly chimed, and behind me came the rasp of tendrils scraping metal. That is insufficient. That is sufficient. You may go. Was it that simple? For our purposes, yes, dear. Though you've only just begun, best not get complacent, dear. I stepped forward, placed my hooves on the bar, and turned toward the insect. Will you join me? Another chime. The butterfly's wings flutter in what I assumed to be amusement. Oh. Now the wayfarer concerns himself with my company. I would rather not go alone. The butterfly's antenna twitched. Oh, worry not, worry not. Darlington connects us in so many splendid ways. You need only let it in. That is the greatest kindness you can do for yourself, dear. I stifle a sigh. These mirthful statements were beginning to take their toll on me. I pushed the bar forward and took my first steps inward. It's interesting because, like, the place felt like a stage play backdrop, and then the first creature felt like it was moving on hinges. The butterfly is literally hanging from, like, the 5 strings that a marionette has. So I'm really unsure about the level of nature versus facsimile here. Like, the place was described as a facsimile, I think, but I wasn't sure if they meant a facsimile of nature as in, like a garden that's real, like a real garden, but it's indoors, and it's like a facsimile of a specific biome in the world or something. The choice to actually have strings is interesting. Oh, so that's not good. Before I could even react, my body was sent tumbling through the door. Oh, I thought he fell through the floor. In the moment, just as the light of the jungle vanished, I could swear the butterfly was fluttering at the door's edge, watching, studying, with the chimes of satisfaction echoing through the dark. You can probably assume that, yeah, they were looking at you when you did the action. So they probably were still looking at you. I broke my fall against a sponge-like material that undulated in waves before settling to a flat surface once more. Nothing was broken. The radio was still intact. I scanned my bearings. The whole of this new chamber was but a single elongated hallway, stretching imperceptibly far in both directions. The oppressive mugginess of the rainforest had attenuated into a crisp aquatic vapor. Through the length of the halls came a cool draft which caressed my fur, filled my lungs with rich moisture. I feel like I think it's missing a word. Like, caressed my fur and filled my lungs with rich moisture. I was like, that tripped me up. My attenuation, what's wrong with me? My attention turned, finally, to the plant beneath my hooves, a lily pad, and a prodigious one at that. I've heard rumors that water lilies in the genus Victoria were capable of holding an entire person's weight upon their leaves. With the width and durability of this one specimen, I would wager it could accommodate a whole group with little effort. Although my sojourn into this bog the butterfly spoke of had only begun, I suppose there could be worse environments to traverse. What a wild landing. It's gotta be worse than landing in the water, right? Like, maybe long term you like don't want to have gotten wet, but in short term it's like, smack! As opposed to this nice pool you could have been cushioned by. I brushed a hoof across the surface of the chilled water. To my surprise, not a strand of algae or cloud of silt stirred from my disturbance. Water so pristine and still, it made measuring its depth nigh impossible. Not that I had any interest in finding out for sure. The butterfly's words still perturbed me. The victims had chosen to stay here? And all 13 of them, in past several decades, not one decided otherwise. Were they controlled? Or perhaps the butterfly had been economical with its choice of words. I feel like I'm already there, where I'm like, well, you didn't actually get the choice to leave. So, it's not really a choice, in the traditional sense. Because no matter what your hunger or yearning is that's been instilled in you, or awakened by, or like magnified by the plant, you did still literally try to leave, then couldn't, which means you can't leave. Possibilities swirled among greater possibilities, which only further deepened my frustrations. Furthermore, I must be watchful for plants. The lily pads seemed innocuous, as did many of the flora in the lowlands. Only the bramble and the Nepenthes displayed any degree of hostility. Victoria amazonica does possess a thorny underside to deter herbivores, though thus far it has yet to react. I could only form loose theories. Are the carnivorous plants the ones I should be cautious of? If this place serves to, as the butterfly claims, help me, then why have these hostile plants in the first place? But if it truly meant harm, why go through all these theatrics? Furthermore, it said we were all connected. In what way? Again, I am becoming lost in but conjecture. I must refocus my efforts on continuing from here. Now, how do I get this plant to move? The water lily's stem dangled down into the depths of the waters towards its basal shoot. Given the water's clarity, it could either be 3 or 30 meters away, and I would rather not dive in to find out. But from here, I could see the dancing of glinting colors swirling around the chute. Koi. Immeasurable koi of reds, golds, platinums, oranges, and more came swirling in a scintilla towards me. Upon greater inspection, they all seemed to follow the trail of a single large fish which appeared twice the length of the rest. They danced through the water column as if to flaunt the filigree of their scales. The leader took a downwards dive, twirled and rose to meet me at the edge of the water lily. Hi. Ooh. Looks a bit impaled upon a stick. Good evening, sir. It burbled in a carefree inflection. I blinked, unsure how to respond. The koi's caudal fin flicked with amusement. It also has the eye. I see you are still getting a grasp of things. I am not used to talking with fish. I would assume not many would be where you come from. No. The slight irony of being animal people. I glanced towards the lily beneath my hooves and back to the fish. We are taking care of it right now, I assure you. The koi drifted lazily around the arc length of the pad. Below, the school chewed vigorously on the chute's base until the stem snapped in twain. They reconvened back towards the surface, moving in a clockwise direction, counter to that of their leader. Now, forward or back, my friend? The fish spread its pectoral fins wide as if to point in both directions. I stared the length of the two halls once again. Nothing differentiated one from the other. Does it make a difference? It is your choice. That is what makes the difference. The fact that they're called forward and back is interesting. Not left and right or something, but specifically like the implication of progression or regression. Was this another test of my desires? Or was it far more simple? If reason and logic failed me before, then once again I would decide by intuition. And my instinct told me. Forward. With a swish of its tail, the large koi conducted the smaller fish towards the end of the lily pad behind me. The plant jostled, and bow waves fanned from behind, while the large koi swam in spirals, glinting like a polished pearl. I kneeled and wiped a splatter of mud from my coat. Long day, friend. I regarded the fish blankly. Yes. Perhaps a dip in the water will do you some good. All that mud is going to sully those lovely-looking hooves of yours. I am fine. The koi acknowledged my response with a flick of the caudal fin, though said nothing more. Small talk. Is there anything I could ask about that I do not already know? Say. I started. The koi slowed its advance as if to swim in pace with me. Will I be alright? That is a bit of a broad question, friend. If you mean by the end of this, then yes, you should be right as rain. But what is at the end? But what is at the end? If I am being honest, I do not rightly know myself. Explain. Friend, there's little else to explain. Then how does the butterfly know but not you? The butterfly is meant to greet and inform you. That is its purpose. My purpose is merely to guide you down the stream. What happens in that bog is of no concern of mine. I shuddered at the thought. Hey, ease up, friend. How can I? If we're going by the eating metaphor and the maw and everything, up top was the reason, the choice. It's the part that tastes you. This is the throat. It's peristalsis. It's just the part where all it does is your body automatically conveys something down the long tube, one way or the other. The choice of forward may have been a mistake in this context, because then he's going to the stomach. My chest ballooned with an influx of frustration, bringing my teeth to a tight gnash. Pardon my disrespect, but I do not trust you nor this entire damn place. You respond with vagueness when my life very well may be in jeopardy. Stay your emotion. You are revealing too much. I swallowed and quelled my frustrations back to a low simmer. The koi, meanwhile, turned on its side so as to look at me with its onyx eyes. In truth, friend, I am frustrated with my lot as well. I am afforded only what the conservatory allows me. I guide. It is as simple as that. The koi spun back around so its dorsal fin quavered like a flag against the breeze. I wish I could ease your anxiety. I do. And I am aware that nothing I say will make you let your guard down. In fact, it is wise of you to do so. We are alien. We are contradictions to your way of thinking. If it would put your mind at ease, I can submerge myself and remain silent until you arrive. Stay. I have more I wish to know. The koi returned that jet black gaze. If you say so, friend. I still don't understand the purpose of the Nepenthes. Ah, the pitcher plant? You know of them? Lily riders would often speak about their encounters with the rainforest pitcher plants. Not positively, mind you. I can imagine. Are you well familiar with them? Only a trivial interest, nothing more. My friend, your interests are anything but trivial. To be an interesting person, one must have interests. Insofar as satisfying some mild curiosity when I was a fawn. I suppose. Fascinating thing the plants are, though their adaptations make them inefficient competitors. They can only exist in environments inimical. It's really stretching my grammar here. Inimicable. Like amicable? Inimicable. I think that's how you pronounce it. To normal foliage. I think it's probably the opposite of amicable, I think. Nutrient-poor and acidic soil tends to be preferred. And that is where their diet comes in. A way to make up for that deficit in nutrition. I need a drink. Whether it be a bog or a jungle, that lack of substance drives them to such radical extremes. Ah, my apologies. I find myself lost in the wonder on occasion, a habit from my youth that I have learned to tamper down on. Seems you still carry them with you, though. God damn it. Ah. Hard not to when they were engrossed. When they were what engrossed you so thoroughly as a youth. Okay, I gotta take a break, damn. Am I better? It sucks to just get like an itch or something. You're like, please go away, I can't talk. Hard not to when they were what engrossed you so thoroughly as a youth. Whenever I had a rare break from studying, I would pore over the pages of textbooks and herbium records. Was that all? What else would I be doing? Pardon me, but do you have friends? I paused and looked askance. Yes, obviously, I have my coworkers. There was the receptionist who greets me every morning I enter the office. That's a bad sign. My advisor. Yes, I believe we had drinks one time. Ah, Vore and autism, the game. Oh, and my part... it says partner is where he was going with that. My subordinates, I have had cordial relations with. My tongue tapped the roof of my mouth as I pondered. I suppose my father, when he was still around. The koi's swimming pattern shifted, its eyes now betraying a sense of pity. And you, I suppose you are never quite alone, are you? In Darlington, one is never alone, friend. We are all connected. The koi replied in a reassuring tone. And if it matters much, I would hope you consider me a friend. Well, as close to a friend as I could possibly be in this short time span. I blinked and felt the stretch of my belly once more. Something had shifted. Something new. I've never heard the term stretch of my belly. My chest welled with a burst of feeling. One foreign, but not unwelcome. No, it was more than welcome. I needed more of it. I guess I should clarify, I have heard the term stretch of my belly in a very specific context. But the spark had died, and my hunger returned once more. Is something the matter, friend? Nothing. Nothing. Koi had been watching me all this time, careful never to take its eye off me throughout the whole ride. If it is perceptive, it may have caught my lapse in composure. It may know. But I want it know, as insipid as that sounds. I want someone, anyone, to know about the emptiness of my belly. The butterfly said much the same, how Darlington is all connected. It is all a network, is it not? Just a network of rooms and paths and some dazzling koi fish, eh? How I interpret it, at least, may require a lengthy example. You see, there was a study conducted on Douglas fir trees. In it, they assert that the trees are connected by a network of fungi, which functions similarly to the neural pathways of the brain. And through this, they would share information. Should one tree be harmed by insects, it would send chemical warnings to other pines, which would produce stronger defensive enzymes. In fact, they would even share nutrients in times of crisis. Ah, really? Fascinating. It may come as a shock, but trees are not commonplace down here. I have thought them only a bunch of gnarled roots, wood, and leaves. You would think at first, yes? But it turns out they have much more complex relationships than previous thought. And at the center of that network is what is known as the hub tree, the most connected node of the system. Hundreds could be connected to just one. But I believe I am droning on. I am simply trying to make sense of this whole place, I suppose. Perhaps rest is in order. You've been through quite a lot already, yes? Yes, perhaps that would be prudent. How much further does this hallway go? Not to worry. When you awake, you will have arrived. Are you sure? Friend, I have traversed these waters for decades, I am certain. I was aware that resting would leave me vulnerable. What if that had been the plan from the start, to lull me into this false sense of security? Focus. You're growing soft, and for what? Only a moment. Keep one eye open and remain vigilant at all costs. Just a moment of rest. If you need to remain vigilant at all costs, then I feel like resting is the cost, and you don't do that. My eyes grew heavy. See you soon, friend. Such a big eye on their tail, and then not really any sign of a eye in their eye socket necessarily, though it might just be dark. 12 years ago, on the 1st of December, I had decided to take a walk through campus just after fresh snow. Dissertations were due in a week, and I would rather not be subject to another frantic mock defense from my colleagues. The bitter cold had brought the crooked fingers of icicles down the eaves of the library, which overlooked a grand stretch of field. It was there that I found a bench to take my seat in and unwind during my scant few moments of free time. I peered across the field and noticed two figures wandering through its middle. One was a bear, a peer of mine, though to call him a peer felt incorrect. He was a burnout with little passion and little prospects. I rarely paid him much heed. But his partner, a scrawny fennec, now that was intriguing. That fox was certainly very bright. I would even consult with them on occasion. What was he doing associating himself with that bear? I watched carefully as the two made their way across the stretch of field. They drew close enough that I could read the expression of the fox's face. His cheeks were flushed with a red glow and both eyes transfixed on that of his partner. He was happy. Deeply happy, almost to the point that it seemed as though he would collapse in a moment had the bear not been supporting him in his large arms. They bantered, nothing particularly important from what I could recollect. The fox traced the tip of his snout towards the bear's ears and whispered something. "I love you," it read. I read. The bear's cheeks went flush and he delivered a kiss on the fox's snout. The fox smiled and buried himself deeper in the bear's arms. It stirred something in me, something I had not felt since... It was as though a candle had been lit in my belly, filling it with a radiating warmth. I could not help but stare in fascination, the looks on their faces plastered in my mind. It was a kind of bliss I could not describe, one of deep intimacy. Together. I remember returning to that field several times in hopes of seeing them again. Every so often they would walk the round of the field, bantering, laughing, or simply standing in silence beneath the sky's gray curtain. Whenever the fox pecked the bear's cheek with a kiss, my own face would tingle. When the bear's smile grew wide, so too did I feel my muscles tug at the corner of my mouth. Never before had I felt so full. Graduation came soon, and with it the parting of ways between peers. I was showered with accolades and praise, and was even prompted to deliver a speech at the ceremony. I spent the entire length of it searching the crowd for those two. Nothing. Once the festivities came to a close, I chanced upon the fox and bear once more in the very same field they frequented. The tone, however, was evidently different. I could see the glint of tears and detect the quivering of weak voices. My stomach dropped as they gave each other one final hug, this one, doubtless, the last they would ever share. Late that night, I lay on the living room couch in the empty of father's house. He was absent, of course, spending another week or so in Sweden to finish up on business. I stared and stared. I patted my belly, hollow as a drum. Had it always been this way? Had I always been this hungry? I had to find him. A few months later, I happened upon the bear once again. With some finesse, I managed to get ourselves into a bar for a conversation. He droned about his life, his career, even asked me about my own aspirations. I thought little of the question then, and merely replied with an empty platitude. With several bottles of gin and paw, the two of us took to a cheap motel room and drank our fill. It did not take much coaxing before clothes came flying off, and were tangled in each other's arms, naked. I held him, just as the bear held the fox, close and warm in the comfort of his fur. But when I opened my eyes, all I saw was a tipsy, blank expression spread across the bear's face. Blank. Nothing. No glow on his face, no passion behind the eyes. I whispered the very same words the fox did, only for the bear to return in an uncomfortable chuckle. He looked askance, betraying discomfort in the fidgeting of his paws. And what's more, that spark remained dormant. I forced my lips against his cheek, hoping to rekindle it. Nothing. The bear merely pulled away. He excused himself shortly thereafter and left. I never saw him again. In the dark of the motel room, I laid sprawled on the bed, staring listlessly at the ceiling. My hooves traced a streak across my belly where I could feel its hollow, the bite of hunger at the walls of my stomach. It did not work. Why did it not work? I paced the room for what must have been hours, the hole in my guts only growing more evident with each minute that scraped by. It came to the point where I seized what remained of our gin and guzzled it dry. It burned. Oh, it burned like hellfire, but at least I knew something to be in there. I kept drinking until my belly had swelled into a sloshing balloon, and yet it remained bereft. The pain brought me to my knees, and with a curdled belch, I sprayed the walls, floor, and my own body with the glistening slurry. Gross. With burning innards, I collapsed in that reeking puddle and wept. I had to find another. I stirred on the brink of wakefulness as a creeping chill of moisture spread across my back. It was enough to awaken me in an instant. I rose with blurred vision. Mixed blotches of greens and grays swirled as I came to. Neat. I'm fat. Ooh, he's looking not great. I'm unsure of his background. It's interesting. He seems to not understand relationships, like, at all. Is sort of my takeaway. Like, those two clearly had an ongoing relationship for a while and were genuinely, like, bereft that they had to, like, they were despairing that they were having to split because they genuinely had a connection for months, years, I don't know how long. But, like, it was a real relationship, so, like, it wasn't about sex specifically. That's probably part of it, but it's a very specific bond that they have, which is why one of them was specifically saying they love the other. Finessing someone, as they said, into a bar and drinking with them while you don't really listen to what they say, calling it droning on about their life. So he wasn't listening or caring. That's a very negative description of somebody talking, saying that they're droning on. In fact, he described himself as such in a negative way, so he knows that. And then engaging insincerely with the conversation, only to then, like, achieve some sex, and then hoping to rekindle the exact feeling that he parasocially observed in somebody else's relationship, is a wild misunderstanding, which is interesting because, like, it's someone who must really struggle in general with the stuff, because, like, he pays so much attention to, like, the plants and all these other details, and is able to, like, scientifically observe things on these levels. So you think that, like, even if they struggle with reading people and, like, engaging with stuff like that, if we're going with, like, a neurodivergent read here, you still would think that he would be able to, like, how do you put it? Like, if he can't understand it intuitively, you think that at this age, with observing these people, he'd be able to understand the difference between sex and relationships, like, observationally, like, intellectually, at least, and instead of being baffled. Although the whole, like, why isn't it happening to me feeling could be less a genuine question and more like just a desperation. Like, why don't I feel this way? Why don't I experience what other people experience, or why don't I receive the experiences that other people have without doing all the steps and so on? Because people have unreasonable expectations, or they're perfectly capable of having unreasonable expectations regardless, in a way that aren't logical. But it's interesting because he's so logical, but we fade into this, like, this no visuals flashback where he's a much more emotional character and much more to the whims of these needs. Let's see here. What on earth? I took a step forward, and my hooves sank into a thick slurry of peat and mud. My eyes finally adjusted to the point where I could trace the contours of those vague green shapes. Tall, tubular leaves radiating from a central point, each capped with frilled hoods and gaping mouths. Sarracenia, the North American pitcher plant. I had been confined to a tight circle, surrounded by the infinitude of Sarracenia, stretching far into the embankment of mist. And not just Sarracenia. Lower down spreaded cobra lilies and glistening sundews, the open maws of fly traps and obovate leaves of sticky butterworts. Their saccharine aroma tickled at my nostrils, which I had already clenched tightly shut. There must be a denizen hiding among the muck. There has to be. Hello? I yelled into the empty fog. Is anyone here? My ears perked at the sound of movement just to my right. There, on a rock, something had emerged. With overwhelming relief, I pushed through the sphagnum and mud towards the creature. Ah! No. Enjoy the blood snail. Hello. Thank God, I feared nothing would answer. Yes? Who are you? The snail spoke in a slow, diffident cadence. Any slight movement I made caused its eyes to instinctively pulse back. What do I do? I'm at the end, right? Where's the exit? The snail simply stared. Well, what is it? Is it a test? The snail backed away into its shell. You are scary. Go away. Go away. I've had enough. Tell me. Tell me how to leave or I will stain the rock with your entrails. I don't know. Leave me alone. The snail shivered, its voice akin to that of a terrified child. Child. I swallowed and allowed the maelstrom of my rage to simmer. I am sorry. Do you mind if I ask you some questions? The snail's eye stalks returned a blank stare. How long have you been here? I do not know. I only remembered this bog. It is all I know. Do you know anything else about this place? I think so. It comes and goes, but I don't understand why I know what I do. Explain. I know there are different galleries, but I can't reach them. I know there are others like me, but I can't talk to them. But they're here. I feel connected. Lastly, do you have a name I can call you? Any name at all. One you might be fond of? The snail sat in silence for several beats before responding. Any at all? I think Yes? The snail receded into its shell. If I had one, then I have no memory. No. Is this the answer that was promised, then? I strained to believe otherwise, but I could not deny the evidence displayed so plainly. The snail's tentacles returned to their full length, and its button eyes gleamed with curiosity. I don't know. Then I suppose this may be the end for me. I suppose then I must make my peace. If you wish, we can speak, sir. I would very much like company. It would make it easier, yes. You speak quite well for someone who's never had company. I don't understand it myself. Call it instinct? The snail's tentacles wiggled in affirmation. I'm sorry if this is nosy, but you were talking in your sleep. It sounded like you were having a bad dream. Oh, that. The details are perhaps a bit much, if I am to be frank. but it is a memory I hold quite strongly. Perhaps too strongly. Yes. I just remember seeing two people who loved each other dearly, a bear and his partner, and then it all ended one day. It is rather simple, really. A bit ridiculous to hold such a memory for this long. No. If it's important to you, then that's all that matters. It was only a reminder, one best left in the past. How so? Are you familiar with the term better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all? I don't think so. It is fairly self-explanatory line, anyways. So, you wish you were hurt? As insane as it sounds, yes. I suppose heartbreak like the one I witnessed is commonplace, a simple fact of life. Many of my colleagues looked so distraught when they would lose loved ones. It is a deep, mortal agony I cannot begin to comprehend. It seems as though something had been carved from them, a piece of themselves that the other provided. I wonder what that heartbreak must feel like, how deeply it must afflict someone. I wonder if that bear still carries his former love somehow. I have no idea what extent their affection ran, but it must have been something significant. Something that cannot so easily be erased. Well, I think the fox is part of him still. The bear let him in, they shared each other, and they separated. Doesn't mean the fox hadn't affected him still. Parts of him are still in that bear and affecting him, even if he doesn't understand. I nodded and brushed the scruff of my chin. Did not expect such wisdom from a snail. Insightful little thing, aren't you? In the end, I guess we all lose each other one way or another, as grim as it sounds. I wish I had someone to lose. I wish someone had something to lose in me. There could still be hope, sir. You still have time. With me, I suppose you are correct. You've been with me all this time, have you not? I guess. I mean, I still don't know you well, but no. You've known me since I first entered, right? Excuse me? Aren't you all connected? Isn't this whole place connected? Well, in a way, I suppose, but that doesn't mean I would know you. You know my dreams, Snail. How could you not know me in and out? I'm sorry, sir. I don't know what you mean. Then how did you know the bear's partner was a fox? Objection! The snail's body stiffened, its glossy eyes scanning the whole of my body with a machine-like diligence. I suppose I did grow complacent. The snail spoke in a much different cadence than before. It is all to save you, friend. Ah. Can't believe he shot the dart into you. The snail sex dart. All connected. Everything I have ever thought has now been interred in the bones of Darlington. It knows me more intimately than any have before. Is Darlington ready, reading my thoughts at this very moment? How deep does it go? Ah, loud. Impossible. The radio. I wrenched the device from my breast pocket and held it aloft. A signal, but a trace of signal. I squeezed the button and, to my joy, a voice came through, garbled but comprehensible. Yes, Chief, this is Chief? Sir, can you hear me? Silence. Nothing I said seemed to be getting through. The Chief spoke to someone in the background with an annoyed inflection. No, this is not a prank call. Damn. I lobbed the device in a fit of anger and it vanished into the fog. Oh, that's a terrible mistake. I sat in the eerie silence of the bog, staring blankly ahead as though anything would appear from the veil. But I saw nothing. The bog was so silent one could hear the plants grow. How long had I been trapped in this place? How long had it been eating away at me? Was there anything left of me that had not yet been processed? Was it even possible for me to leave, or was I now irrevocably a part of Darlington? Time passed. Maybe an hour, maybe several, maybe even a day, and yet nothing. Part of me regretted killing that snail. At least then I'd have someone to talk to. Oh, you killed the snail. I'd take a brazen liar than this pervading emptiness. Speak to me, I yelled aloud. Speak to me! My voice echoed across the vastness of the fog. I trudged through the emptiness of the swamp towards the wall of carnivorous plants and pushed through. Their saccharine aroma invaded my nostrils, but there was nothing to attract, nothing more than could absorb. My stomach roared, the emptiness now an indescribably agony. Oh, there's a lot of typos all of a sudden. Ah! I fell to my knees, arms clutched over my belly. It is hollow. Oh, God, it is hollow. Nothing is in there. There's nothing inside me. It hurts. God, does it hurt? Someone please save me. Please. To my right, the plants rattled. It was gone by the time I looked. I could feel its presence, massive and unknowable beyond compare. A power hitherto unseen before by any outside mortal. The "in," I think, is not supposed to be there. A power hitherto unseen before by any outside mortal. It was waiting beyond the veil. It was expecting me. I took a step forward. Okay, so I wasn't hallucinating about the bent horn, and it wasn't like a perspective issue. Hello. Meat snake? Covered in eyes? That's a lot. Do not fear, friend. The rumble of the beast's voice could be felt rattling in the hollow of my bones. I am here to save you. It sang in a chorus of voices, all bound together by one single will, a will whose intelligence and age far exceeded my own. Not in all the cathedrals nor temples of the world stood something of such divine splendor. I kneeled with eyes affixed to the lambent glow of its gaze. What are you? It matters little. What matters is you. You are a starving man, strong in mind and body, yet so dearly unfulfilled. And from those wastes you happened upon Halidom. Halidom? You deign to call this Halidom? You incarcerated me in this tomb. You tortured my mind and feigned sincerity with your army of puppets. They are not puppets. They are equals, all a gossamer thread in the design, just as am I. Liar! Why should I place my faith in you, Snake? I merely engendered your actualization through the most effective means available. And that is supposed to make me trust you? You are a skeptic by nature. It is your trade, after all. I would likewise be loath to accept my offer should I be in your shoes. The masquerade was a means to an end, a method by which to impart my gift. I want nothing to do with it. I want to leave. The beast groaned, sending ripples through the meadow of pitchers. And thus you prove why I must take such measures in the first place. The method is often unsavory, a surgeon's needle or the bitter bite of a draught. I keep you from harming yourself further, to see the cure I offer. Mercy with no choice is no mercy at all. Ah, but you have a choice, one I find to be so banal, yet so often needed for one to be persuaded. You may reject my offer and return to the wastes. That much I will promise you. It must be true. It must be true. Blah, blah, blah. It must be true. I had no choice but to believe otherwise. This cannot be an elaborate ruse anymore. No. Why else would it push me to such a degree? The serpent went quiet and lowered its head, the heat of its body radiating like a smoldering star. Oh, you hungry men, toiling with a belly empty and no concept of reprieve. You see what could be, yet cannot find a way to manufacture it yourself. I am free to do so. I do not need a being like you to sate me. I speak no dishonesty. It would be easier if you were much the same. I mean it. This is not... Whatever you offer cannot be the answer. I just need an opportunity. Someone who is right. I can save myself. If that is what you wish to believe, then so be it. Then, if you have no interest, you may go. Walk the mists. Walk straight and look forward. Look only forward. Within but a few paces, the door to the wasteland will be laid open for you once more. Darlington will forever be a memory, and your joy will be a matter of your choosing. I receded backwards, glancing at the far mist behind me. It could all be over. This nightmare could end if I just walk forward. I can return home and forget all this ever happened. I will allow you all the time in the world to decide. Whatever you wish, I will provide. Ben. I am so hungry. Beads of tears rolled across the arc of my cheeks and into the vile muck. That cannot be living. I cannot be living like this. I feel like I keep switching back and forth between present tense and past tense. And you need not to. Does it ever stop? Was there any possibility I could fill that hollow within? Perhaps. Or perhaps it is far too late. Too late. I am a buck grown. If I had a chance, it would have appeared before me by now. No, not necessarily. I knew you to be sagacious. What do you offer? Us. Together? Yes. I just want... someone to embrace. I nodded. That is a very phallic angle. That does not look like a snake anymore. I nearly jolted when I first laid my arms around the serpent. Not from its size, no. From what came within. Something within was stirring. Pleasant and playful, like the flitting wings of a butterfly. A tickle of warmth deep in that hollow, the dancing warmth of a candle's flame. I moaned. It has been so long since I have last felt this. So long. My tears pooled across the surface of the snake's skin. The pain is gone. Good. God, there is relief. There is relief in this world. I drank it in to rectify the years I had been without this nectar. Why now? Why of all times now, when I am too far gone, do you show yourself? You had need of me, Ben. I do not concern myself with those who have hope. But this cannot last. I would have to remove myself eventually. Please stay. Please stay with me. You are as close to me as possible, Ben. No, this is only a spark, only a candle wick of what I am owed. I need Vore. There must be a way to get... Closer. Yes. Would that I could, I would swallow you whole, and you and I would be forever united. The bear only had but a taste of the fox, only a flavor of his person. I need more. I need someone who cannot be separated from me. I need someone to devour, someone to digest to their bones till every last shred of meat is indistinguishable from mine. But then, where would they start? Would I be alone again? And then you devour more. More and more until you are not but a chorus singing together. Are you hungry too? May I? I understand. Then I welcome you, Ben. Uh-huh. Jimmy draws such cool teeth. It's like such a cool style for them. I do usually think, like, I don't think you can close this mouth, technically, but that doesn't matter. This got way more literal than I anticipated at the beginning. It was dark, and my breath was heavy. It was even more humid than that of the jungle. Ah, Borneo. If only it could have been. If only. But it was better this way. I was full. I've never been more engorged in my life. I wrapped my hooves around the bend of my belly and smiled, knowing it filled. The fluids of the snake's guts slathered me in a warm cocoon. They tingled, even stung a bit, but I knew that to just be part of its process. What's funny is that the moment the snake showed up, I was like, if we're going through the process here, then the entrance was the mouth, the koi was the esophagus, the bog was the stomach, which is even like the most bog-like part of the process with its like the fluid content and stuff. And then I'm like, the moment the meat snake showed up, I'm like, all right, well that's the intestines, and that's pretty much the rest of the process. They tingled, even stung a bit, but I knew that to be just part of its process. First, it loosened the fur and sizzled at the surface of my skin. But as it ate more, I felt the bite of acid slithering into my body, cavities and highways of veins. My breaths grew labored with the collapsing of my lungs and the fraying of my trachea. The enzymes had reached bone and ate their way into the marrow, liquefying the platelets and adipose tissue. And yet I could not help but smile, even as my lips withered away. I am becoming. Id, ego, superego. Their once closed interplay now opened to that of others, the thoughts and sensations of the snake. The rolling smoothness of its scales, the weight of itself laying in the muck of the bog. No, it was not only the snake. It was, as it described, a chorus. There were voices layered among voices, thoughts layered among thoughts. My strands of consciousness thought my strands of conscious thought shot outwards like billions of hyphae and entwined themselves with that of the melody. One pathway, the lattice work of countless chloroplasts in the leaf of a small shrub. Another, the withering of an insect's appendages lost to the mucilage of a sundew. Not only life, but the foundation of Darlington itself. Darlingot, the girders, the rivers, the windows and columns. Time swirled among the ocean of sensations. Minutes, hours, even days coalesced together in a fine streak. Before the last of my motor neurons had dissolved, my now amorphous shape loosed one final gasp of individuality, and with it a final thought shooting through my synapses. I am not alone. The end. There's something to unpack about the psychosexual shit going on with Vore, and like the number of stories that unpack love and relate and intimacy with consumption. Obviously B-stars, but also like more recently wow, what's their name? The person that made Smell and oh my god, I'm blanking on all of their actual creations. Nagabe, right? The mangaka that did one pretty successful series that turned into an anime and then made a bunch of one-off volumes of really horny furries, basically. A recurring thing in like 3 or 4 of their things is like consuming people, and that being part of the thing. Sometimes framed as like a instinct, but it's also like conflated with like sexuality and so on. There's a lot going on there. Nepenthes. That was wild. I think that the narration is overwritten, especially in like the first third. Like it takes a long time to get inside the building, and I kind of, in all sincerity, zoned out while I was reading it because I genuinely was not absorbing what any of the sentences were saying. But the gist of it was that looking for missing people, which is about all I really needed to know going in, and then you're trapped. And then it kind of picked up once the pitcher plant and the butterfly showed up. And in particular, it's a lot of it like flowed better during conversation than during the like longer stints of narration. And the flashback was actually just like genuinely, like it just flowed, and it was just emotional, and like it like was conveying something more directly and more interestingly throughout that whole process. It's curious because they kept wondering while they were in the metaphorical stomach, as I interpreted it. They were like, "Is there even anything left of me, even at that stage of the process?" Which is why it's like it does kind of feel like they essentially made it like it suggested potentially that they maybe never woke up in the first place after succumbing to Nepenthes. I think I looked it up. I looked for briefly. I didn't like do an audio version, but I saw like a description that seemed like it was pronounced Nepenthes. So he very well may have succumbed immediately, essentially, and that was just like the passage of stuff there. But I don't know if that's just Cetus's writing style, because he also did Before You Depart for May Wolf like 2 years ago, and I had a similar thought about that, which I meant to unpack in like a video essay type thing, but then I didn't want to anymore because I was processing stuff about death at the time, and it was like too autobiographical and too like personal, and there's like a line to draw about how personal you want to get with stuff on YouTube in your works, which is a line I'm always straddling with the video essay channel because of how a lot of it's like being vulnerable for the sake of being sincere and so on, which is makes my messaging on that stuff more effective, and it stirs something in people, but it also leaves me literally vulnerable in that people use anything they can to hurt me. So I've become somewhat more guarded about what I put into videos because people are cruel for some reason, just unnecessarily, even within the furry fandom. And it's just weird having any kind of attention directed at you. So I kind of like shelved that idea. But even with Before You Depart, there was like a interesting angle I was looking at where I was like, you can kind of interpret the whole story as if Memento doesn't exist the entire time, and that this is all just sort of like the final firing synapses of a dying brain comforting itself and so on. And I remember there being a few concrete hints, whether intended or not, that specifically seemed to kind of indicate that Memento might not actually be there. but I don't remember what they were very clearly. I think I might have written them down in my attempted script at some point or my notes, but I don't know. Maybe revisit that story with that in mind and see if it's something stands out to you. It's at least an interesting thought. I was gonna be so pretentious. I had a quote in there. I think stolen from Hank Green. I mean, by stolen I mean cited. That was like, no, I think it was the thing that Hank Green quoted from a more famous person, basically. That was like, we are the means through which the universe observes itself, and so on, which is a lot of which that quote really resonates with me in regards to Memento's curiosity and so on. But now I'm off topic. I'm just talking about the previous game here. It's cool seeing the art. I love the backgrounds. Protagonist is a little static, but these are game jams, so it's a struggle. And most sprites in most games kind of stand still and just change expressions and so on. I'm spoiled in that Fwog shows up and he has a background in animation, so he can draw one character several times really rapidly and can just like do a bunch of poses, no big deal. I don't know how the fuck he does that. It takes me about the length of a jam to draw one drawing. So I would not be able to keep up on my side of things. But yeah, good effort. I definitely would revise the prose a bit and also just fix some genuine typos. It is amusing to have a story that is both literally and metaphorically Vore at the same time, and that actual Vore is depicted, which was unexpected at that point because of how it was already depicting Vore subtextually, or at least I read it as that, and it feels kind of intentional, but I don't know how many other people picked up on that unless they're already predisposed, so who knows. But yeah, I'll try to cover some more of the Novembuck games. I don't know when. I might alternate with other games that aren't from Novembuck and like do it every other week or something. I don't know what my plan is exactly, but I'm gonna try to cover a few more, mixing in some the popular ranks. I might ask for suggestions from individual people, just because there's people that have time to like go through them all, and obviously I'm going in blind, and I don't have time to cover them all because, oh my goodness, if I covered one a week, then I'd be covering them all year, and not only is that like logistically almost impossible just for the one jam, but also like May Wolf happens also. So I cover like 3 to 5 each time, I think, except for the time I covered one. I'm rambling. Anyway, see you guys next time. And if you want to check this game out, there's a link in the description to the store page, and you can also check out the entirety of the Novembuck Game Jam and pick out your own favorites. See you later.